The View hosts have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against, undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The comment was bizarre, especially coming from Joy Behar, who is as woke as they come and positions herself as a champion of feminism. This online commentator said, disgusting Joy Behar of The View accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired only because Donald Trump thought she was.
The latest controversy on The View has sparked another round of backlash, this time for underestimating a guest. The spotlight is on Karoline Leavitt, a young, outspoken conservative political strategist who's been gaining attention in the media. Things took a turn when Joy Behar, with her usual attitude, dismissed Leavitt's accomplishments and suggested she was only successful because of her appearance. From that moment, it was obvious The View had crossed a line again, but Leavitt didn't stay quiet. She pushed back with confidence, calling out Behar's comments and highlighting what many see as the double standards in The View's version of feminism.
The fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political business because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to.
Instead of backing down in the face of the usual elitist sarcasm, Karoline Leavitt did what many before her couldn't. She stood her ground. And she did it with a sharp mix of intelligence, calm, and, most importantly, facts from the moment Joy Behar made her offhanded comment. Leavitt made it clear that her success had nothing to do with her looks. It came from years of hard work, strong political insight, and real communication skills. Qualities that clearly made her a threat to The View's panel of self-proclaimed experts. She didn't waste time calling out the irony of reducing a woman's achievements to her appearance, especially coming from a show that constantly claims to champion women's empowerment. The hypocrisy was hard to miss. The View loves to present itself as a space that uplifts women, but when a woman doesn't fit their political views, they tear her down in exactly the way they claim to stand against, and that didn't go unnoticed.
Oh, please, his opponents are saying to this very day the same rhetoric that led to those 2 attempts. The second attempted on President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie, and yes, you will take political, like we have seen in 2 instances against President Trump. Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a... That's despicable, dangerous, divisive rhetoric that is spewed by the Democrat Party every single day. And I'm so sick and tired of the media pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying that he is sowing division in this country. He is not. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. But the good news is Americans don't buy it. And that's why today in 2024, President Trump is more popular than he has been since 2016, because people don't trust him.
Let's be real, this wasn't just about Joy Behar's petty comment. It's part of a much bigger pattern. Every time a young, confident conservative woman gains attention, the media often tries to tear her down. We've seen it happen with Kayla McEnany, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Elise Stefanik. The playbook is familiar. If a woman doesn't fit the media's preferred narrative, she's labeled as unqualified, unserious, or just there for her looks. That's exactly what The View tried to pull here, a cheap, sexist job they assumed would go unnoticed. But this time, it backfired big time. Karoline Leavitt didn't just push back, she laid out the double standard and reminded everyone that her position wasn't handed to her. She earned it through hard work, real political experience, and competing in a tough field. Unlike The View's hosts who often talk over each other in front of a friendly audience, Leavitt built her career by facing real debates, real criticism, and real stakes. And she made another important point. While they sit on a talk show trading snarky remarks, she's out in the real world, shaping political conversations and making an impact. She's not just another face on TV, she's a player in the national dialogue. The moment quickly went viral. People from all political backgrounds took to social media to call out The View for its double standard, clips of Leavitt shutting down. Bear's comments spread fast, with many saying the same thing. Even those who didn't share Leavitt's views admitted she revealed a big flaw in how The View handles women in politics.
Something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because black people couldn't get into colleges.
The show loves to
The View often claims to champion strong, independent women, but only if those women stick to the show's narrow political script. The moment someone steps outside that box, especially a conservative woman, she's quickly dismissed as nothing more than a pretty face who doesn't belong. And if that wasn't enough, The View's attempt to embarrass Karoline Leavitt completely backfired. Joy Behar's snide remark didn't just come off as rude, it revealed something deeper: insecurity. Instead of challenging Leavitt's political ideas, they went after her personally. Rather than engage in a real conversation, they focused on her looks, which only made the panel seem petty and unprepared. It was a textbook case of projection. Instead of recognizing that Leavitt earned her place through talent and merit, The View tried to twist the narrative to fit their own worldview. But this time, the audience saw right through it.
Women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase and talk about, because you don't understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You're saying about yourself that, hey, that's a terrible thing to be. It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought. That's what we were fighting for, so that you could stand in that podium, so that Catherine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium. So women of all kinds of colors and ilks, wherever they came from, whatever their belief system was, they had the opportunity to bust.
According to behind-the-scenes sources at ABC, the backlash from this moment was worse than anyone expected. Executives already tired of the show's constant controversies are now reportedly questioning whether Joy Behar, a longtime host, is starting to do more harm than good. While The View has always thrived on heated discussions, there's a line between being bold and being a problem. And this time, it's clear that line was crossed. What really turned the tide, though, was how Karoline Leavitt handled the situation. She didn't complain or play the victim. She stood her ground, spoke confidently, and reminded everyone why she deserves a seat at the table. This wasn't just a personal win for Leavitt, it was a wake-up call for The View and for anyone who continues to underestimate conservative women in politics. The long-standing narrative that these women are unqualified or just there for show fell apart in one powerful, unforgettable moment.